Hello, my crafty friends. It's Andrea from Prairie Sky Paper Crafts, your independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Manitoba. If you are joining from the blog hop, thank you and welcome. If it's your first time visiting, don't forget to hit subscribe down below so that you are notified every single time a brand new video goes up. We are creating, with pencil crayons today, the watercolor pencils. I've got a piece of basic white. It's about 6 by 6. My sentiment is coming from Charming Sentiments. I've got some polished pink here, and we are using the Pretty Medallion stamp set today. I just got it recently and I am loving it. So we are going to ink up with Memento. I prefer, the reason that I'm rubbing my stamp block or my stamp pad over my stamp is because it's a little juicy and I find that I get a little bit better coverage when I rub versus tapping. You can use your stamp apparatus if you would like to. I am just going to use it upside down on my desk, but I am going to grab a baby wipe and clean up a little bit of this over inking before we get too into it, because I don't really want a distressed look today. I will be cutting down my basic white piece, but I wanted to make sure that I had a really good impression. So I'm just going to place it and hold it with one hand and rub just to make sure that we're not going to get hopefully any shadows, but if we do, we just flip it over and start again. There we go. Not a big deal. I am going to trim around the edges, so it'll be fine. Now the colors that I pulled out are Granny Apple Green, Pacific Point, Daffodil Delight, Rich Razzleberry, Melon Mambo, and Basic Gray. You know what? We're going to do yellow in the center. So just a really quick, I'm not even going to blend these. I'm going to use them like traditional pencil crayons today. I really do love the look of this stamp. It kind of reminds me of some of the old doily Stampin' Up! Stamp sets. And I am, hopefully soon, going to run with my idea that I had last video, a couple of videos ago, about heat embossing, because I think this will look absolutely stunning. Been thinking about it a lot. So I was actually thinking probably, I don't know, gold on red would look really pretty. Silver on blue. Ooh, silver on starry sky would look absolutely stunning. All right. So let's see. Now with the pencil crayons, the harder you press, obviously, the darker the color is going to be. I want it a little bit softer today, so I'm not pressing too terribly hard. And of course, you can always go back in with your blends. Now, if you want to use, not blends, the blender pen, if you want to use anything that is water-based over top of your watercolor pencils or Stampin' Write markers, same deal, you want to make sure that your stamping in stays on so that your ink has a really good impression and won't run. Now, depending on the color that I use, occasionally I will go over markers or the pencils with the blender pen. I don't tend to do it on things like this though, where there's pattern inside of the area that I'm coloring, just because it will muddy it a little bit. You do want to make sure that your image stays crisp and clean. All right. One more go around. Even though there's a lot of detail in this stamp, it does color really quickly. Now, I mean, if you want to do a different color on every piece of every bit, then it's going to take longer. But coloring is very therapeutic and very relaxing. I'm going to do this area. I don't know. Some days I could just spend hours in my craft room just coloring. Oh, I didn't do a great job with that side now, did I? That's all right. See, the beauty of this too is because I will be trimming it down, I can trim off any little bits that aren't precisely what I want. And you can hide anything with a little bit of bling. Put an embellishment on it, tie a bow. There are so many possibilities. Let's see, we'll do rich razzleberry. It's one of the things that I love about card making and stamping and creating is if something isn't exactly what you had in your head, you can go back and fix it or completely turn around and go on a different journey. Because there's been times, and I'm sure every paper crafter has had those moments where you're creating something, you have an idea in your head, it is absolutely not heading in the direction that you want. Things in my craft room have hit the recycling bin more times than I care to admit. But even then, I always look in there first. Well, not always. But sometimes something will catch your eye in the recycling bin. And then you can create something out of what you've already thrown away. Or you just leave it on your desk, come back, and inspiration hits you. I don't know, creative journey is an absolutely amazing experience. I never did think that I would be a paper crafter. And then one of my friends invited me to a party, and, well, the rest is history. So if you do see something that you like or would like more information about the stamp set, the supply list is linked below. So you can head over to that and then you'll get an exact, the product number and the name for what I am using. And then if you'd like to place an order on my site, I always appreciate the support. Of course, you need to be Canadian to shop with me, and all of my customers get a little, little pieces of happy mail. I love spoiling my customers. All right. We are just about done. I think I'm going to leave these little pieces white. Oops, forgot to go down there. I don't know, when I'm coloring, there's usually at least one spot that I forget to color. So I put the colors that I'm using or that I want to use on one side, and then the colors that I have already used on the other side, so I can keep what's straight where. And usually I try to do them in order, especially if I'm using something that's really close, like with the Stampin' Blends. If I use the light and the dark of one color, I tend to put them in a row so that I know the order that I use them. Just trying to decide how I want to go about and cut this today. So I do have my polished pink over there. Dark's not a color that I use a whole ton, but there are times that it just feels like you need to use it. Most of the time I have a very loose idea of what I want to create, and as I'm completing the project, it comes a little bit more into focus. Sometimes I just grab what's at hand as well. And I go through fits and starts with my projects too. There are days that I want to use all of the things, and then something gets tucked away and forgotten about until I decide that I want to have a rummage day and go through what's on my desk. Just a little bit of Granny Apple. I love Granny Apple Green. It's probably one of my favorite greens. I use it a lot. A nice little bright pop of color. I love it for kid cards and teen cards, just because those ones can be a little bit challenging to do. And then we're gonna plop in here with our Melon Mambo. I know sometimes watching people color can be a little bit tedious, but I'm almost done, I promise. Well, 1/6 of the way done. And you can go back and you can add highlights and you can deepen the tone as much as you want. And of course, as I said earlier, the more color you apply or the harder you press, the darker it becomes. The pencil crayons were probably one of the first coloring tools that I'd purchased. I got some Stampin' Write markers because there's so much that you can do with them. I loved that you can actually write or color directly on your stamps with them. And that was how I built up my collection, trying to decide if I wanted to purchase an entire color family or if there were just certain ones in the color family that I wanted. So yeah, that was the introduction to coloring for me, was the Stampin' Write markers. And then I had used other alcohol markers before. I really wasn't sure how the Stampin' Blends differed. I love that it's got a fine tip and a brush tip. Most of the time though with the blends, I use my fine tip just because I find that it gives a little bit more control and it's a little bit easier to use. But then there are also days where if you want to do a wide swath of color, like if you're doing an alcohol or a rubbing alcohol technique, and you want to lay down a whole bunch of color really, really quick, you can. And I love my blends for coloring embellishments. It makes it really quick and really easy. It only takes a few seconds to dry. So anything that's, white or even very vanilla, you can color with the blends. Just add a little bit of color. My only tip with that is to use the side, not the tip, because the first time I did it was not thinking. I went to color a faceted gem and I used the tip, and well, it's pretty much frayed and not very happy. All right, so this is our last one. I'm just going to give it a little blast of color here. And then we're going to get to the main event of putting our card together. Okay. Put these guys back in their container. I like to store my pencils tip side up so that they don't get wrecked. And then, so my card base is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I think, you know what, we're going to do a fairly close trim here. I think there is good. I like to trim usually bottom to top. So this is going to be, I'm going to back it up a bit. So this is going to end up to be 4 1/4. Actually, no, it's not. It's going to be 4 inches. but, oops, that's the score blade, not the cutting blade. Okay, so I'm going to cut a little bit, another 1/8 of an inch off of each side. So we're going to trim it down to 4 inches. Oops. And then, so yeah, this is 6 inches. We're going to cut this down to 5 1/4. Actually, no, we're going to do 4 by 5. 5 inches. Yeah, that looks all right. Okay, this is going to be our bottom. Let's see. Now the wheels are turning. No, I don't think that works. I was trying to decide which embellishments I want to use on here. See, I think we're going to use classic matte dots. I was thinking about pearls or rhinestones, but I think the classic matte dots will work for this one. Grab our take your pick. Word to the wise, don't store it with your pointy side up because you will just jab yourself like I just did. Flip that over to the spatula side. All right, I'm going to do 3 black dots. One, oops. My go-to is usually the smaller. I'm not sure why. It's just what I usually seem to grab. All right, move that down just a smidgen so we make it look like that line is intentional. Move that over just a smidge. Kind of get it a little bit more centered. There we go. And then we'll do 3 large white. Gotta get more putty out. Usually when I do more putty, I twist, and then as soon as it starts to come out, I back it off so it doesn't keep coming out. It's cooler in my craft room now, so I'm not as concerned about it. But in the summertime, if it's really warm in here, the putty just keeps on coming. 1, 2, 3 there. And then we're going to try to get the same pattern roughly on the other side. And 3. All right. Let's put some adhesive on, then we're going to do our sentiment, and we're done. I like to do it so that it's not quite square sometimes. So we'll do that. Angle it that way. And oh, there it is. I think we'll do a very casual card today. We'll do hey there. I really like the sentiments in this set. There's so many different ones for pretty much any occasion that you could possibly ever want a card for. Whoops. I was making cards for our school. I do the birthday cards for all of the teaching staff and all of the kids, and did not get everything tucked away because I still have about 100 more to make. So we had a bit of a craft lunch, but it's fine. All right. Hey There, stamped in basic white. Double oval punch because it is my go-to lately. And it's too big for the center. I'm just going to stick it there. Yeah, I think I'm just going to lay it flat. So, hey there. And then just one black. Actually, no, we'll do one black, two black, and a white in the center. All right, so there's our card. Thank you so much for joining the blog hop. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe down below so you're notified when a new video comes live. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a great rest of the day. And if you do create something with this stamp set, I do hope that you'll share it. Thank you so much and have a great day. See you soon.